In a short time before these elections, there were many incidents of assassination attempts and also attacks against politicians. So just to name two social democrat politicians who were attacked, the Slovakian PM Robert Fico and the PM of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen. She was attacked. But also we had further incidents. We had a Polish border guard who died by someone who tried to cross the border between Belarus and Poland illegally. And we also had the attack in Mannheim that led to the death of the police officer Ruven L. And it was an attack against the conservative politician Michael Sturzenberger. So Olaf Scholz, who is the leader of the SPD party that is currently ruling Germany, wanted to virtue signal to the German people that he is going to actually do something about the attack. And he says Germany plans to send criminal asylum seekers back to Afghanistan. Who abuses the protection we provide loses the right to this protection. The German chancellor announces plans to change German law and create new charges. Now, why am I starting with this? It's very simple, because many politicians in the EU say they're going to do things about the number one issue in people's mind in Europe, which is safety, and they end up doing absolutely nothing. And a lot of people were not convinced by his message. So we have from End Wokeness, today is the start of a new era in Europe, and they are registering a lot of victories for the right. So in France, the National Rally, headed by Marine Le Pen, wins a historic 31.5% of the EU vote, forcing Macron to dissolve the national parliament. Germany, the AfD surges to become the second largest party, Liberal parties tank. Belgium, Prime Minister resigns after his crushing defeat against the right. Italy, Meloni's Brothers of Italy wins in a historic landslide. Austria, the FPO, Freedom Party of Austria, is that doubles their seats and becomes the largest party in the nation. In Spain, the right is beating the left by 10%, and in Luxembourg, the first ever seat for ADR. And the list goes on. And that was yesterday around 11:35 p.m. UK time. And there are many more things to...
The only thing I don't like about that is Italy, because Meloni is a fake right-winger. She's a globalist.
She has let down many people. And the question is, if the European Union shifts to the right, will that enable her to guard her borders a bit better? So the concerns that you are echoing are concerns that many people have. Right, so let's look at this projection here yesterday. So they're talking about the parties in Europe. So the European People's Party, which is a center-right party, is gaining close to 13 seats. And it has become the largest, it is the largest party in the EU. Socialist Democrats, they lose around 4 seats. The Renew Party loses around 22 seats. Conservatives and Reformists gain around 3 seats. Identity and Democracy gain about 9 seats. The Greens lose about 19 seats. And you will see, I think they lost even more. The left is losing 1 seat. And non-aligned gain 36 seats. Now, we have here more analytic results, and I can show you these results and then compare with the previous one. So let us see here in the... We can see here the legislative period of 2019-2024. We have here a fewer positions for the right, and you will see that they get increased. But what you see is that the people who have primarily lost are people from the Renew Europe Party, the Greens, and Social Democrats. They lost about 3 seats, and the left lost about 1 seat. The Greens have lost about 21 seats, and Renew Europe has lost a lot. So you see all the parties...
What's Renew Europe? What are they about?
You'll see they are basically modern liberal and Democrats. But it's the emphasis is on modern liberalism. So they want big state, basically, and they call that liberty.
Right.
They call that the necessity for liberty, that you have a very big nanny state.
Hi folks, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to let you know that we've introduced a feature on the website that allows you to purchase individual videos. So if you go over to lotus.com and see a piece of premium content that you really want to watch,
these were the previous results for the legislative period of the previous 5 years. And now we can look at what happened right now. So you see the center-right EPP has gained around 10 seats. The Renew Europe has gone to 79. The Greens dropped to 52. And as I said, the Social Democrats, they lost about two or three seats, and the left lost about 1 seat. But you do have here a massive expansion on the parties on the right. And as you will see, and as we will say, one of the people who are primarily banging the drum of the rise of the extremist rights are precisely the EPP. They're pulling out the horseshoe theory. For them, anything further to the right than center-right is not right-wing, but is straightforwardly far-right. And we will hear even more about that in the next 5 years.
Wets, aren't they? The wet right.
Well, I would say that they call themselves center-right, but in any conventional sense of the term, they're not. I think they're basically what we were talking about before, third way.
They're wets. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of neoliberal, neoconservative, sort of centre ground. I don't really have any beliefs or values. I kind of go whichever way the votes and money take me. That sort of politics, right?
Who really want to be seen as acceptable by the left. This is one of their major pitfalls. So you could say that they are basically advocates of the third way. Third way is just that they use it with brakes instead of just head-on acceleration like the parties to the further left.
They don't want to be scorned when they get invited to dinner parties by their left-wing mates in the city.
It's just a big collection of people who want to be involved in something glamorous but aren't good-looking enough to do show business. None of those people should be involved in politics.
Right. We have here from Yuri Bezmenov's Ghost, France did the meme. So we have this funny meme here that is talking about how the term far-right is a term of abuse. And it says, the modern leftist political compass, everything is far-right except from, very far
basically,
authoritarian left.
You're either a Stalinist or you're far-right.
Yeah, everything right of Mao is far-right. And they have here where Le Pen won in France. So the brown is for the National Rally Party of Le Pen. And you see here, I think this is Paris here.
Yeah.
And as you can expect, Paris...
Is that lots of white to signal the surrender flag, is it?
Well, Paris in France is what London is in England.
Of course, yeah.
And it's
I feel
bizarre
sorry for the French.
Paris has been ruined the most.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, Macron dissolves parliament. He got double scored. And he gives a speech after a crushing defeat to Le Pen in the European Parliament election. And he says, you would expect someone to sort of engage in self-criticism, but you're going to tell me, Stelios, you're talking about politicians. He says, the rise of nationalists, of demagogues, is a danger for our nation, but also for our Europe, for France's place in Europe and the world.
And then for those listening at home, there's a picture of a man who's thinking about how he...
He's also doing that white supremacist hand signal. The ADL is going to be after him.
I'm sure they will. But what is interesting is that you would expect people who lost to sort of at least pretend that they got the message and at least acknowledge in their rhetoric that there are more dangers to European nations than right-wing demagogues and nationalists, because there are many threats that Europeans face, many threats that Europeans have, and many concerns that Europeans have, and they think the EU leadership does not address. I want to show you here a video. If it is I think that would be hilarious. So I wanted to show you the youth wing of Macron's party reacts to the news that there will be snap elections after the party's disastrous defeat to Marine Le Pen's national rally in the European Parliament election. So let me show you.
À l'article 12 de notre constitution, j'ai décidé de vous redonner le choix de notre avenir par le vote. Je dissous donc ce soir la souveraineté.
A room of 40 soy boy French do the soy boy meme simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean, if that's accurate, that's hilarious. Here we have people from Marine Le Pen's party. They are cheering, and they have the French flags. You see that this is a major victory for them, and they see this as a sort of opportunity for national renewal, and they want this to be reflected in the rhetoric of French leadership and also EU leadership. Right, so we have Belgian Prime Minister who resigned, and we have here Alex De Croo unexpectedly resigns after a brutal EU election. Right-wing parties swept the floor. So you see, Macron announced that he is going to organize an election for next month. The Belgian Prime Minister, who is supporting globalist agenda, and you can see he has the rainbow flag behind him. He resigned after a brutal defeat. So some things are changing in Europe. Now let's go to Germany, because Germany is a curious case here. You see, the AfD party has won around 5.2%.
The AfD?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did I say?
I don't know.
I said AfD. No, it's Alternative für Deutschland.
Is that how you would say it in
yes.
German? You're more accurate than me.
Yes. So you have the CDU, that is the Christian Democratic Union, who went to 30%, the AfD to 15.90%, and the SPD, which is the Social Democrat Party of Olaf Scholz, less than 14%, and the Green Party 11.90%.
And isn't it funny, because didn't Olaf Scholz bring in votes for 16-year-olds on the assumption that they were all going to vote left-wing, and they just all went out and vote for the Nazi Party instead?
Well, I don't think that it's a party of that sort. But
no. From his perspective, from his perspective, he thought that votes for 16-year-olds would lock in a sort of lefty green paradigm forever.
Yes, and
they just went, enough. I'm not living like this in this country for the next 40, 50 years.
Yes,
and they went straight.
And I have in the end a claim by Ralf Schollhammer about the young people in Germany and why they voted for AfD to a very large extent. So in the previous election 5 years ago, the Christian Democratic Party had close to 29%, so they gained a point. And the Green Party was in 20.5%. So the Green Party's agenda was the second, and now they've sort of lost half of their support in 5 years.
I mean, it's amazing they've still got half. They have deindustrialized, they have destroyed Germany.
Yes. And the SPD party was 2 percentages more, and the AfD was around 11. So things are changing. And here, let's see how Germany voted in the European Parliament election. The CDU in black and AfD in blue. You have here.
Yeah, top marks to anyone who can guess where the Cold War line was drawn through Germany.
It's almost like the people who lived under communism can recognise communist mismanagement more easily. It's funny, that, isn't it?
Except for that one bit there, which is Berlin, which was a little island in itself.
Very own London in Germany there.
Yes. And here I have the reaction of the Greens. Again, this is priceless.
30% leichte Gewinne. Grüne 12,5, das sind deutliche Verluste. SPD 14, leichte Verluste zum letzten Mal. AfD 16, deutliche Zugewinne. Die Linken bei 3 mit Verlusten. FDP 5, das sind leichte Verluste. BSW,
they're not particularly happy, are they? Do they strike you as a happy audience?
Well, the thing that offends me about this video is look at all that bloody lens flare. The Green Party are using lights when they have done more than anyone to turn the power off in Germany.
That was a fascinating video of nothing happening there, yeah.
Yeah.
They should be doing this with bloody, I don't know, candles or something.
Right. So I want to talk a bit about Greece, my country. In Greece, we have several interesting
Is that a pizza?
results.
You got a pizza party.
Where?
At the top there.
Here.
P-I-Z-A. Pizza. There's a Z missing. Up there, look.
There.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like the pizza party.
Okay, so
How do I vote for them?
There are some very interesting ramifications and and consequences of this election. So you see, the entire country has sort of voted for the New Democracy Party, and they gave them around 28.3%, except for here, Xanthi and Rodopi, which are basically they had the parties that won there are parties for the local Muslim communities. This is something that a lot of people from the right are saying. You know, you have parties that are essentially Muslim parties, and they are winning in these places here.
Now, Stelios, because I am unfathomably based, if I was also Greek, which of those parties would I vote for?
Which of those parties? Yes. I really don't know. But I will say that for the first time in many decades, there are more than 20% to the right of the ruling party that is claiming to be center-right. So what happened here is that basically they alienated a lot of their base voters.
So the 28% one, that's the centre-right, is it?
That's the centre-right.
Who's to the right of them?
They are attached to the EPP.
Is
to the right you have here, to the right you have here the Greek Solution here.
Right. Oh, I like the sound
of that. You have this party called Victory.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. And you have here the Voice of Reason, and you have other parties here.
Right.
But the important thing here is that a lot of people are looking at this as a defeat in Greece. Why? Because we had national elections about a year ago, and the party who won, New Democracy, had more than 40%. They won around 40.5% of the vote. And basically they alienated more than 12% of the population and their voter base. So they appealed to swing voters who aren't as loyal, and basically they betrayed a lot of the ideological supporters. And you know how they did so? The main three issues that people have raised concerns against them. Number one, it is cost of living crisis. Number two is immigration. And number three is the way in which they legislated for gay adoption. And this is a very big issue, but for 2 to 3 months, they literally put the whole country fight each other with respect to whether there should be, whether homosexual couples adopting children is a human right or not. And basically there was zero public discussion of a healthy sort on this. So people were absolutely frustrated when they saw that all of these issues that everyone in Europe is talking about, be it immigration, be it safety, be it the raising cost of living crisis, they weren't treated as national emergencies, but this one was.
You say adopting children, but I mean, we could get slightly more specific, because every single time I see an example of this, by sheer coincidence, they've always adopted a boy.
Well, I really don't know about this.
Yes.
And I cannot comment. But you see here, the party, the main center-right party lost close to 12%, but the left parties didn't win. So, for instance, you have the Syriza party here, which is the coalition of radical left. They basically are in 15%, so they didn't win. And you have also Varoufakis' party. He says, in yesterday's European elections, I suffered a crashing personal defeat, along with my comrades in Greece and Germany. Our 6 societies, caught up between the radical center and neo-fascism, cannot help a dying Palestine, a war-torn Ukraine, our own people. But fight on we must. I want to ask, what is the radical center? Just a question.
Radical center. I don't know.
So
maybe it's the people.
I don't know. It's some people just love throwing isms.
Yeah,
they just love throwing isms.
But the people are getting radicalized. My section was all about that happening here, and your section is all about the people have had enough of this shit.
Well, people have had enough of unrestricted immigration, and you can see it here from Visegrad 24. And we see also from BBC News, this is how Don Butler reacted to the EU results, because this is interesting to see how a lot of people are rushing to give their interpretation of what happened and essentially switch on the ideological machine in order to present this in the way that fits their narrative. So Don Butler says, "We were all warned about the rise of the far right and incels. The attack on woke feeds into this dangerous rhetoric. The surge in support for the far right across Europe is a warning for us all. Farage on reform, some Tories should be nowhere near power."
What do the EU elections and the right wing in Britain have to do with incels? There's nothing to do with it. What the hell?
She's scared.
Well, I have the impression she just wants to virtue signal to women who are particularly averse to incels, and
women that are particularly averse to being mentally stable. Yeah.
Well, so I have here a clip from Ursula von der Leyen.
EPP is the strongest political group in the European Parliament. EPP has the most leaders. Together with others, we will build a bastion against the extremes from the left and from the right.
So
this is my point about the EPP. It's wets like her. I mean, I didn't even know that she wasn't a socialist until you showed me that clip. But I mean, it's the same bloody difference with the EPP. They're just wets.
This is basically, it shows a lot. It shows how they basically do not engage in self-criticism, because there are some interesting portrayals we can make, some interesting analogies to make, because you would think that someone who's on a wooden boat that is sinking because there's it is flooding, and there are sharks around it, you would expect that person to try to save the boat rather than just trying to sink it. So what I'm trying to say by this is that it is absolutely beyond doubt that one of the things that does fuel the extremes, the extreme right, is uncontrolled migration. It does. Okay, not everyone who is frustrated with unrestricted immigration is far right, but an extreme right. There are right-wing people who are frustrated with unrestricted migration. But if they are doing basically everything they can to flood Europe with unrestricted migration, and then it's a bit rich to start and saying, well, yeah, but the extreme right is rising. But what did you do to prevent it? The answer is nothing.
It's such a perversion of the language, because it is people like her, the centrists, that are the extremists, because they're ruining us with debt and mass immigration. The people that they call on the extreme, people like us, we're not extreme. We just want to have a country, and we want to have homes, and we want to have families, and we want to live a good, decent life and earn a good wage. That is all we want. We are not extremists. They are.
Exactly. And you could say that one of the main purveyors of the constant appeal to the far right is actually the center right, because they think that by doing so, they are appealing to the same area voters. They're, in a sense, fishing from the same pond. So I have here a response to this, and I'm saying it is the left that is Europe's major problem. Leftism is bad in itself. In addition to that, European multicultural leftists promote, whether intentionally or unintentionally, agendas of the non-European extreme right, because there is a pattern. You will see a lot of people who are immigrating into Europe. They are supporting left policies of open borders, and in their country, they're supporting ultra-nationalist policies. Whatever problems Europe has, its current leaders are not able to solve them. They're not guarding Europe's borders. They're patronizing to European patriots. They destroy the European economy with suffocating regulations. In the name of democracy, they pronounce the popular will to be hate speech. They make a parody of democracy by giving power to unelected bureaucrats. And perhaps worse of all, they dismiss the worries of those who feel unsafe. Because this is, I would say, the main thing. People feel unsafe. They feel that there is no rule of law. And when they try to talk about it, they are renounced as advocates and purveyors of hate speech. And Winston Marshall is saying something good. He says the globalists, left-right, still don't understand modern populism. Instead of contending with the failures of 25 years plus of establishment politics, they smear and besmirch the reaction to it as far-right. Because to contend with the legitimate concerns of ordinary people who have turned away from elite concept of correct think would be to contend with their own failures. I think he's absolutely correct here. And especially when it comes to Europe, because you're correct. Terms are used in particular contexts. So, for instance, in the UK, conservative means something different than what it means in America, in the US. Mm. And also, you could say the term liberal. And in some case, whatever the term far right means in the US and the UK, in Europe, it has links to historical links to the extreme right. And one of the reasons why they constantly do this is because they want to get people on the right to get so bored with being bombarded with the propaganda and just start identifying with the term, so they can use their propaganda machine to the European people and say, yeah, but look at who they are. Remember what happened in World War II, and basically try to interpret everything in terms of the main narrative of World War II. And we have here something by Ralph Schollhammer. He has a really interesting article here, a small article on how young people in Germany voted to a very large extent for AfD because they want to have a future and they're not interested in the virtue signaling of the Green Party and other parties that are just patronizing to them, and all they're saying is that vote for us and you will be the agent of progress. They don't understand progress in these terms. So this is, by all means, check Ralph Schollhammer. So a lot of things are happening in Europe, a lot of interesting things. We will have to see how things eventuate, because a lot of politicians are letting people down. But I think that these are massive news, and I'm just interested to see what is going on afterwards.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see more of what we're doing, what you want to do is pre-order this lovely magazine, Islander. It's on our merch store, which you can find on our website. Make sure to get it because it's a limited run thing. And if you want to see what else we're up to, you can follow us on Twitter where we share everything else. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.